Hi, everybody. This is Dan Stolbarger, and welcome to our Middle East update. It just so happens to fall on Christmas. So, Merry Christmas. And I say that sincerely from my wife and I to all of you that tune in to all of our different types of YouTubes, whether it's the Middle East update or whether it's our studies through various books of the Bible, or if you're just a member of the KFIR global community and you get our daily Bible readings. Let me encourage you this upcoming year that if KFIR has been helpful for you, remembering that word, my wife always tells me, you better explain it, means young lions. That our Young Lions Fellowship, if it's been meaningful to you, please share it with a friend. It's free, as you know. You can go to our website at holygroundexplorations.com to sign up for free, and also to get more information about our hopefully upcoming tours and trips and experiences in Israel. We've had to postpone our spring tours, but we're looking for dates in the fall. So information about Israel, again, holygroundexplorations.com. And also remember that as we go through this, it's good to have the PDF PowerPoint because it comes complete with photos of a lot of these articles that we'll be bringing to your attention. And that should be on the link that that your YouTube comes through on. You should see that link. You can click that and get that there. So what's going on in Israel today? Let me step back, since it's the end of the year, and cast a longer or a larger shadow of what I see coming our way, or what has transpired in this last year. First of all, nobody could have predicted the power of this so-called pandemic, COVID. The power of COVID to shut down the world, not only the economy, but to give massive power to world governments. I'm reminded that when asked to describe the signs of his coming, what to look for, Jesus cited pandemics, just like the one we're experiencing right now, as a major sign. Check out Luke 21, verse 11. And then not only do we have this pandemic that's given so much power to world leaders, we're also in this valley of a bubble of peace in the Middle East. With these Abrahamic Accords that are going on, country after country, avowed enemies of Israel are making peace with Israel. We applaud all of this, but from a biblical perspective, from a end times perspective, we need to realize that all of this has been talked about in the scriptures. And it's up to us to make sense out of it all and to be watchmen on the wall, because these Abrahamic Accords, it's hard not to see looming off in the distance a war that's depicted in Ezekiel 38 and 39. And remember, this war, this Magog-Gog war, the enemies of Israel are coming to take spoil. Israel is prosperous at this time and in this so-called bubble of peace. It's hard not to see all the major end-time players being put on the chessboard as I speak today. Well, enough of that. Let's move on. Israel, Middle East, what's going on? Benny Gantz was interviewed by the Saudi Arabian newspaper, and in the interview, Gantz, I can't believe this, but this is what he actually said, that Jerusalem, although it will still be united, will have room for a Palestinian capital. I have a feeling that statement alone will be the death knell of Benny Gantz's future in politics in Israel. This Abrahamic Accord, Jared Kushner, his quote is that our collective efforts have led to the birth of a new Middle East. A Trump official, Kushner, says that there are still many deals in the works between Israel and Muslim countries, and the more the better, and the timeline is before Trump, if he ever does, leave office. Now, unfortunately, we do have to talk about COVID. In Israel, nearly 30,000 were vaccinated in the first 2 days. Health ministers say that vaccinations will begin or have begun in old age homes. And, there was some questions about would people step up? Would people boycott vaccinations? But in old age homes in Israel, 270,000 people have been said to have booked appointments for shots as the call centers continue to be swamped. Health Minister Yuli Edelstein said on Tuesday that right now, Israel is in a very critical situation and they have no choice other than another full lockdown. And it's supposed to start Sunday afternoon. And then there's another major article in this presentation today about the rise of terrorism, but the Esther Horgan's body that was found, the Israeli woman that lived in Judea, Samaria area that was brutally killed, her head smashed. There was some question whether this was a terrorist act or not. Israel is believing it is an act of terrorism, and there is a suspected terrorist, the person that's being charged with killing this mother of 6 is now being held in detention and questioned. It's amazing to me how quickly Israel's able to apprehend terrorists. So that's our news bites for the week. Let's take a look more at specific issues in a little bit more detail. And again, last time I'll say this, get the PDF PowerPoint, all right? So closing this, guys, Prime Minister Netanyahu warned on Sunday that the surging coronavirus infections, the possible mutations in the virus will force Israel to close air travel. And his quote is, "We're going to need to close the whole world immediately. This is an extreme step, but if we don't do it, we will pay tremendous consequences." So you'll see the pictures here. As it stands right now, the skies are closed. And then we have, new subject, the ongoing struggle, threats, the sounding of war drums between Israel and Iran in a rare display of overt military prowess. The IDF submarine last week reportedly crossed the Suez Canal. According to Arab intelligence officers, the naval vessel did it visibly traverse the waterway in the direction of the Persian Gulf. Obviously, Egyptian authorities have green-lighted this maneuver, and no doubt this is a threat to Iran, a deterrent. IDF Chief Avi Kakavai on Monday vowed that Jerusalem would respond, whether near or far, to any attack, emphasizing that if Iran, either directly or by proxy, takes action against the state of Israel, they will find themselves in a very costly endeavor. And all of this is happening because, if you remember, it's the 1-year anniversary, January 3rd, of the assassination of Soleimani. So in preparation for all of this, Israel is giving a visual deterrent. Terrorism on the rise. This is an article that I'll allow you to read on your own here. This is more details about Esther Horgan. She was laid to rest on Tuesday morning. And as I mentioned before, a suspect has been apprehended, but terrorism is on the rise once again. It was last Monday that a Palestinian teenager attempted to shoot at an Israeli security officer stationed at the Lion's Gate, which is sort of the entrance, the Muslim entrance to the Temple Mount. In fact, there's been 2 shootings at the Lion's Gate over the last week. And then also a Molotov cocktail was thrown at a Golani Brigade soldier outside of Kudadim Junction in Judea and Samaria. So we're seeing tensions being ratcheted up. It's Israel, so guess what? New elections. Israel's calling for the 4th election in 2 years as the Netanyahu-Benny Gantz coalition is collapsing. Bottom line here is going to be the biggest threat to Netanyahu is not going to be the centrist. It's not going to be center-left. The biggest threat to Netanyahu is going to come from the right. The pendulum in Israel is not swinging. The election will have nothing to do with ideology. It's all going to be about one man. It's all going to be about the perception of Benjamin Netanyahu. So again, article, more detail, check out the PDF. And then a couple more before we're done. The squad's back at it again, attacking Facebook. The squad. They joined 30 other Democrats in the House and signed a letter addressed to Zuckerberg last week demanding that Facebook take immediate action to eradicate anti-Muslim bigotry. AOC, her quote is, "We write to express our deep concerns with Facebook posts dehumanizing and stoking violence and genocide against Muslims around the world. We implore you to take this problem seriously and take immediate action." She goes on to say Facebook has touted its ability to preemptively block 99% of all content related to child pornography and extremist violence, and it should be able to do the same with anti-Muslim content. I'll leave that for you. But from where I sit, once again, there's an aggressive agenda to whitewash and clean up the concept of a jihadist. And so, once again, are we going to just allow for our fake news and all of our social media outlets to be scrubbed of any anti-Muslim content? That's what's going down the pipe. And as that happens, let me warn you, there'll be increased attacks on Christianity. I have no doubt about that. Well, last article, Jesus and the Palestinians. Revisionist history. I shudder to read any of Obama's comments about Israel in his new book because it is revisionist history. And the heart of this revisionist history with Israel and Palestine surfacing here. Christmas, Jesus and the Palestinians. According to the Palestinian Authority, Jesus was the first Palestinian. He was the first Palestinian shaheed, the martyr. He was the first Palestinian self-sacrificing fighter. He was the first Palestinian messenger, a Palestinian par excellence. He was, according to them, I don't know how the math works here, the great-grandfather of the Palestinian people. He's a prophet, not of Christianity, but Islam. So according to all of this, Christmas is a Palestinian national holiday. Friends, Jesus was Jewish. The name of Palestine didn't happen until over 100 years from Jesus' death and resurrection. Jesus wasn't a Palestinian. Anyhow, that's it for our report for this week. Again, God bless you all. Shalom and Merry Christmas.